talk about, well, the revenue from AI cover all the debt and expenses it has created. And these numbers are amazing to me. AI is definitely part of the future, but has overbuilding surpassed the revenue that it can create. Think about that. When one steps back and looks at the numbers, they're just staggering. Over the past 3 years, major tech firms have committed more funds towards AI data centers than it cost to build the entire U.S. interstate highway system, which took 40 years to build, and these numbers are adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, I mean, that just blew me away when you think about that highway system. I mean, sometimes you're driving and it's like, gosh, it's just crazy to think that people actually built this system out,
Yeah.
and you just kind of take these things for granted.
And I think the concrete goes down like something crazy, like 18 inches or 2 feet. It's really thick concrete, not like 2 inches. It's majorly thick concrete.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing system. So to think about how much money is being spent now on the AI side of the equation, it's like, wow. And I mean, if you look in the next 5 years, AI infrastructure spending will require, it says, $2 trillion in annual AI revenue. And if you think that's a lot of revenue, yeah, you're correct. In 2024, the combined revenue of Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, and NVIDIA did not hit $2 trillion. It is also 5 times the amount of money spent globally on subscription software. So, I mean, it's a huge investment these companies are making.
And we give these comparisons to let you know because, oh, no, AI is going to be big. Yes, it will be. But when you put it in perspective, it may not be as big as you think to cover the cost. And the other problem, too, is consumers, well, they pretty much enjoy free use of AI, but it appears for businesses paying more than $30 a month per user, well, that seems to be the breaking point where they say that's all we're going to pay. AI executives claim the technology could add 10% to the global GDP in the years to come. With that thought, they are saying the benefit comes from where it will place a large number of jobs, and then that savings be enough to pay back what they invested. But think about that. My question is, if you're replacing all these jobs, consumers, well, they're not going to have a job to pay for anything. They'll have less money, and they probably won't need or even care about AI if you don't have a job to pay for it.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. I've kind of had this thought where it's like, again, all this investment, you essentially need to fire a bunch of people to make it worthwhile. You can only extract so much efficiency out of a person to generate more revenue to offset the cost. You need to cut costs to then actually benefit from it. But as you said, if AI truly is good enough to cover these costs, you're talking about a dire situation where 50% of the country is unemployed. And it's like, well, what good is AI at that point? So I always have questioned, to what extent is AI going to be able to, again, capture this huge investment? And there's many history lessons about bubbles that did not pay off because of the overexcitement on inventions. This includes such things as, simple as canals, electricity, railroads. People forget there was a huge railroad bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And also, too, you might remember the .com bubble where the internet was so exciting, the building of tens of millions of miles of fiber optic cables in the ground. The amount spent was the equivalent to about 1% of the U.S. GDP over half a decade. It was a huge investment.
And the experts, they like to have the justifications. Well, from the experts, it was the internet. Well, they were saying, well, the use will double every 100 days. That's why we can spend so much money, because it's going to double every 100 days. Well, the reality was it didn't double every 100 days. It doubled about 1/4 that. About once a year it doubled. And the fruition of the traffic, when it was actually doubling every year, it wasn't enough to meet the expenses they had. And most of those fiber optic cables that you talked about, they weren't used about 10 years later because of what we have now called streaming. So they just sat there in the ground for 10 years. All that billions of dollars they spent, no return on investment till about 10 years later. And probably a lot of those companies that did that probably filed bankruptcy and were long gone by now.
Yeah, and I mean, I just can break that down, give you the numbers. The expectation was for doubling every 100 days. The reality was it doubled every year. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge difference, essentially. Yep. And that is, again, where you look at this is AI, again, not questioning, will it be around and will it be helpful? Yeah. But to the extent, are we overestimating its benefit? That is the question. And in fact, a report out of MIT said they found 95% of organizations surveyed are receiving no return on their AI product investments. And another study from the University of Chicago showed that AI chatbots had no significant impact on workers' earnings, recorded hours, or wages. And again, got to say, I still believe AI is here to stay. But again, that question mark that is in the back of my head, has the expectation gone too far?
Yeah, and we talk about the bubble. A lot of people talk about the bubble. And these are things that give you something to compare to, that these numbers don't make sense. And AI is here to stay. But is it over excitement of all this investment that they're just not going to return on it? I mean, we gave you many good reasons why we don't see that happening.
When the concern I have is there might be a company or two or maybe three that the investments pan out, right?
Right.
But other companies, they could have wasted hundreds of billions of dollars potentially on this investment, and they're not the winner. Those are going to be the companies that are going to get hurt. Other companies are going to file bankruptcy because they borrowed all this money and they weren't the winner. There was this gentleman on, I forget where he was from, but he was talking about you can't have 15 winners in AI. You're going to have like Google, for example. They were the big winner. Bing, Ask Jeeves, Yahoo, those all kind of fell to the wayside. They're still around, but they're not capturing the same profit level that Google is. It's going to be the same thing with AI, I think, 5 years from now. There's going to be somebody that is the big dominant player that's capturing the profits. Everybody else, they wasted billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
And the thing that people don't think about is that a lot of this is borrowed money.
Yeah.
So if it takes, 4 times longer to get that return on investment, well, you still got to pay the interest on your debt. And the creditor's not going to say, okay, we'll wait another year. No, many times if they don't feel comfortable, they'll shut you down and say, we're closing that debt now. We want to get paid. We're going to force you into bankruptcy. So that's what happens. Can't pay the debt. And a lot of these companies are highly leveraged getting into AI, very expensive.